This confirmed what we've always feared. As the Hawks were beating down on the Pelicans last night, Atlanta decided to trade off their superstar player and got pretty much nothing back in return, including draft capital, which is now making us wonder, what do the Pelicans have to do with Zion Williamson at this point? Well, we're going to talk about it inside this edition of Pelicans Digest. What's good with it, y'all? It's your people, Melz On The MIC, back once again inside Pelicans Digest. Thank you so much for tapping in with me. And, man, last night was just an ugly night of basketball for the New Orleans Pelicans as they lost to Atlanta by about 17 points. I ain't even want to get into the game, into the scoring or none of that because, as you know, this team was shorthanded, and this team is a totally bad basketball team. When you don't have Herb Jones, you don't have Trey Murphy on the court. So last night was just more debacle, more the same with this Pelicans team, and now you are even closer to having a losing record in this season, and January is not even over yet. January's not even over yet, and things are just not getting better for this team. And last night, the big story out of that game wasn't even the game itself. It was the fact that Atlanta, while they was beating us down, got rid of Trae Young in exchange for CJ McCollum and pretty much nothing else. They didn't have to put up no draft capital or nothing. And so a lot of people are starting to ask questions about what do we do with Zion Williamson as we approach the trade deadline, because Zion has been playing the best basketball of his career, and it's pretty much been assumed that the Pelicans would move on from Zion at this point, especially when you consider the record that the Pelicans currently have. And we're going to get into that in a minute. But before we get into all that, we got to let you know that this video was brought to you by our friends at Kalshi. When you download Kalshi using the link in the description and enter the code DIGESTNBA, you'll get $20 when you trade your first $100. Kalshi, of course, is the largest prediction platform in the United States. On their platform, you can trade yes or no on real-life events, including sports, elections, news, whatever is on your mind. And if you're in California, Texas, Louisiana, or anywhere else across the country, Kalshi is live in all 50 states. And for sports fans, you can trade on game outcomes, player performances, playoff chances, and so much more on a regulated market where you can cash out at any time. And speaking of Zion and what's going on with his trade situation, one of the bigger lines on Kalshi right now is Zion Williamson getting traded before the trade deadline. According to Kalshi, the numbers have started to go up. Trading has gone up, especially over the last 48 hours involving Zion Williamson. The same can be said for Herb Jones. Despite news coming out that the Pelicans are not planning on moving Herb Jones anytime soon or even this season, his number has continued to go up as people are starting to trade yes on Herb Jones getting traded before the trade deadline. So if you want to get in on that action, man, get over to Kalshi. Download Kalshi with the link in the description. And don't forget to use the partner code Digest NBA. All right? Don't forget to use the partner code Digest NBA to get a $20 bonus when you trade with your first $100. And we got to thank once again our friends at Kalshi for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back into it and let's talk about Zion Williamson. Chris Lambert put up a story on Pelicans Digest that I found very interesting. And he talks about how the Hawks and the Pelicans are in similar situations when it came to Zion and Trae Young. And he believes that the Trae Young trade should serve as sort of a, I guess you could say, a platform or sort of a blueprint on how the Pelicans need to move off of Zion Williamson if the moment in time does come. And I wanted to get into this and see what y'all had to say about this, because I'm very interested in what Chris Lambert had to say about this. He said that the Hawks front office decision to part ways with Young is one the Pelicans front office should draw inspiration from when it comes to Zion Williamson and his future with this team. Williamson has spent 7 years with the Pelicans, one fewer than Young spent with the Hawks. So hopefully, for Pelicans fans' sake, this trade serves as a wake-up call that it's time to end the Zion era. And, of course, as you know, we heard the reports earlier, matter of fact, probably around before the second injury that Zion had this season, that Joe Dumars and company were looking to get whatever offer that was possibly out there for Zion Williamson. But now you're starting to hear reports that they're going to stand firm with Zion Williamson and see what can happen as you get closer and closer to the trade deadline, which is now officially a month away at this point. So Chris Lambert goes on to say in his story that both players are incredibly talented offensively and were drafted with the expectation that they could be franchise saviors, and the coach could mold the team's offense around them. But over time, it became clear that due to their immense defensive deficiencies, their offensive output isn't really worth it. So Chris goes on to say that despite Williamson averaging an impressive 22.5 points this season, the Pelicans hold a 5-18 record through the 23 games he's appeared in. This is very comparable to the Hawks' 2-8 record when Young has played this season. And so that does beg the question, how do you move on from the Zion Williamson situation? And my question is, what kind of offer do you look at for Zion at this point if you want to get off that train? Like you said, as of right now, Zion is playing the best basketball of his career. He hasn't been hurt. He actually played in a back-to-back last night and the night before last, which is encouraging. But are you willing? But at this point, we are gambling. What are we gambling our future still being tied to Zion Williamson? Because time is running out as far as if you want to get some sort of trade value for him. The unfortunate part is, of course, is what everybody continues to report, is that there's no trade value. Nobody's looking to take on Zion Williamson. No one is looking to take on that contract, despite the fact that it is favorable to teams. This contract is very favorable to a lot of teams. And it's favorable to the Pelicans, of course, as you know. The Pelicans can get out of this contract at the end of the year if they so choose. If Zion doesn't hit certain markers or certain plateaus. So this is a tough one. Because on the one hand, you could look at what Atlanta got back in return. All they got back was C.J. McCollum, and I don't even want to get started on how the C.J. McCollum trade has now sort of backfired on us because we picked up Jordan Poole and Saddiq Bey, and while Saddiq Bey has turned out to be a quality player, Jordan Poole has not. And Jordan Poole stands, miss me with the nonsense. Y'all have seen your mans over these last couple of days, these last couple of games. Joe Myers has had enough. If you listen to these Pelicans games, you can hear the snarky comments from Joe Myers. He has seen enough with Jordan Poole. He's had enough of him, and he's not alone. So, what do we do? What kind of position do you put yourself in if you're the Pelicans? Because I really don't have the answer to this. I really don't, especially when you read the reports that that chances are high and things are moving in a direction to where the Pelicans are going to keep Zion Williamson through the rest of this season. And then what do you do with him? What do we do with him then? You don't have a draft pick going into next year. What do we do with Zion Williamson? Are you going to go hedge your money and say, okay, give him another year and another shot? Because if that's the case, then look, we're in trouble. If you recall, at the start of the season, I laid out what I believed was Joe Dumars and management's master plan, their so-called master plan for this team, which was to try to win for the next 2 years, this season and next, before you can start going into a full-blown rebuild. Atlanta said, damn that, we ain't trying to win now. Go ahead. Same with Washington. Washington said, the hell with it. Washington has cleared out every $30 million contract off their books going into next year. Meanwhile, the Pelicans are sitting on 3-4 of them. You still got Murray sitting at $30-something million. You still got to pay Poole $30-something million. You got Zion with $30 million. And none of these three players has produced any sort of winning for your franchise for the money that you put out on them. So where do we go at this point? You already hearing Dejounte Murray ain't even in the facility practicing. What are we doing? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Because $90 million of this roster is tied up with three players who, two of them can't play defense. One can't really play offense. You just feel stuck right now. Especially if you're a fan of the Pelicans, you kind of feel stuck right now. You still can see some sort of light at the end of the tunnel with the play in right there, but so that light is slowly dimming. And you kind of wonder why we continue on with the Zion experiment. We know it's over. We know it's about to come to an end at some point. What are we doing? Delaying the inevitable? I don't know, man. I don't know. And we got this game against Washington tomorrow night, and which is hilarious because I went on Kalshi and seen that the Pelicans are actually favored to win that game tomorrow night. But the Pelicans are still going to be without Herb Jones. They're going to be without Trey Murphy when I'm seeing reports on. Jose Alvarado's going to be missing the game. Also, Sadiq Bey is going to miss the game. So this actual version of the Pelicans that you see getting rolled out, well, I think somebody said last night, is actually the worst. Actually, statistically, that version of the Pelicans that we saw last night, statistically, is the worst team in the league. And we're going to roll that out again tomorrow night against Washington, who's already made it clear in their intentions that they tanking the whole thing. What I'm trying to get at is you see all these other teams that said, the hell with it, let's go ahead and get to this rebuild. And I'm seeing a Pelicans team that, despite overwhelming evidence that is not going to happen this year, and if you keep this roster constructed the same way next year, it's not going to happen again next year. I see a team that's still trying to cling on to the hope that this year and next year is going to be positive, and it's not. It's turning out to be not that way. So really, it's time for us to start getting out of this mess and getting out of this situation, because we're getting lower and lower by the day, and it's not getting better. What more are we waiting on to clear house on this? Atlanta's already in the process of doing it. Washington's in the process of doing it. What are we waiting for? What is it going to take for us to wake up from the delusion that this team is going to come back? I'm out of the delusion stage now. It's not going to happen. We are almost to 40 losses, and we ain't even in the whole week of January. You're already at 40 losses. I'm still going to be going to the games. I still got my season ticket. I'm still going to be going to the games. But we're already trending in that direction. So why are we still trying to hang on to this belief that this is going to turn around this season and next season? Why? I guess that's what makes sports fun, right? Delusion. But thank you so much for checking in with us here on Pelicans Digest, man. And don't forget, if you are part of the percentage that still haven't subscribed, man, hit that subscribe button, man, and come join us. This is where you get the best analysis, opinion, and more about the New Orleans Pelicans. It's Melz talking about those Bells right here on Pelicans Digest. I would love to hear your thoughts on what's going on with Zion Williamson. Do you think that the Trae Young trade from Atlanta should serve as a blueprint for the Pelicans to move on from the Zion Williamson era? Or maybe another player we need to move on from that we need to wrap up on. You let me know in the comments, and we'll carry on the conversation as we get ready for the game tomorrow. It's Melz talking about those Bells right here on Pelicans Digest.